right, so we are on day 77 of going through my old journals. The question for quote for today is, man's inability to communicate is a result of his failure to listen effectively. What type of communicator are you? What type of listener are you? So again, if you're following along, just pause the video and look at the question and think about what your thoughts are on that, and I will tell you what I wrote and what I think about it. Let's see. I said, I'm not really sure. I think it depends on the person, situation, topic, etc. Sometimes I'm a very good listener and can remember minute details of a conversation. Sometimes I struggle a lot to listen. I don't do this as much as I used to, but in the past, I think there were a lot of times that I would be listening to respond. And people say that, like they say, like most people are just listening to respond. And I think I still do that sometimes, but I'm more conscious of it now. You know, like you're just listening to what people say until they say something that like you feel like you can reply to, and then you're not really listening to the rest of what they're saying. And then I go on to say, like, not paying full attention to what the person says, but listening until I heard something that I could comment on. Sometimes I would interject, sometimes I would wait until they finished, but would 100% not be listening to anything else they said, because I would be repeating what I wanted to say over and over again in my head so I wouldn't forget. And I'm not, again, like I feel like weird talking about like ADHD because I haven't been like diagnosed, but based on what I've been reading, I've been following some like Reddit threads now. I'd watched a ton of YouTube videos before, and I've been following some Reddit threads of people talking about their experiences, and I feel like this is kind of one of those things, like my brain like just moves on so quickly from things. So if I'm having a conversation with someone and they're talking for like a really long time and they say something that I want to comment on, if they keep talking for a while, I will completely forget like what I was going to say. I'm one of those that's just like, I forgot what I was going to say if I don't like say it right away. And I don't like, I'm kind of shy, so I don't often like interject if it's like people that I'm not that familiar with. And, you know, in that case, even if I've thought of something to say, I will just like let it go, because I'm not going to interject and then I'll forget what I was going to say anyway. But with people that I'm comfortable with, like my roommate, we both have very similar, I think, communication styles. And so sometimes we both just end up like interrupting each other a lot. And so what we've just kind of come up with like a method that works for us. Like if I'm talking about something that's like really not that important and they want to interrupt, and he wants to interrupt, I'll just let him interrupt. And he'll do the same thing to me. Like if he's saying something, and sometimes he'll let me interrupt, and sometimes he'll be like, hold on, let me finish. And so I'll be like, okay. And then if I forget what I was going to say, I forget what I was going to say, you know, and vice versa. But yeah. Oh, and I wrote about this too. I said this tends to go away, like the forgetfulness, or it says this tends to go away when I'm comfortable with someone, but I feel like I'm very bad at communicating off the cuff. I definitely am. I think I know what happened right before I wrote this too, based on what I just wrote. I said I'm very bad at communicating off the cuff, like in public. When I unexpectedly have to communicate, I feel like it's really awkward. It's not quite as bad when I know that I'll likely have to speak to people I don't know or don't know well. In those cases, okay, like whenever I know that I have to speak to people, in those cases I can normally psych myself up for it enough to get by. I feel like working to understand myself better has helped me be able to communicate my emotions and feelings better. So yeah, there was a time, and again, I feel like my anxiety around people comes and goes with my hormone cycle too. Because there's just sometimes that I feel like more introverted and more social and extroverted. And there was like this time that I was feeling like really introverted, but I was going to the gym every morning and walking on the treadmill. And there's this older man that would come up and talk to me a lot. And, or not a lot, but he would just like come up and like try to talk to me. And I remember he said something that like, there was like a million like normal responses to. I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was, but I just remember in particular, he came up and said something like a little joke or something. And like there was a million like normal ways I can respond. And I can't remember what I said back to him, but it was just not anything normal. And like after that interaction happened, I was just like, why didn't I just say this? Why didn't I just say this? You know? And I feel like when it's off the cuff and when it's like somebody just approaching me and saying something like random, 9 times out of 10, I have no idea how to respond. And I'll just like smile and be like, uh-huh. Because I can't think off the top of my head. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm not a good communicator off the cuff. I prefer communication through text or email for sure, just because I can't get my words out properly if I'm just, you know, having a conversation, I don't think. And it's why I wouldn't, like, I think I would be terrible in like a debate with somebody, because if somebody is a good debater, it doesn't matter if I'm smarter than them or if I know more about a topic than them. If they're a better communicator than me, I would fail. And I would get frustrated because I know that I wouldn't be communicating properly and it wouldn't go well. So like I've been seeing some of this on YouTube with like some of these guys who have very strong, in my opinion, like factually wrong opinions, or morally wrong opinions. And there will be people like making videos about them and kind of like taking the points that they say and putting facts to them and like, you know, showing where, you know, some of this might be misguided or wrong. And then the original people will be like, debate me, get on and debate me. And this one guy in particular, he was like, I'm not good at debating. I wouldn't feel comfortable debating, so I'm not going to do that. I will respond to his points if he makes a reply video, but I just don't feel comfortable debating. And I totally get that, because just because you're good at debating and good at like being able to shut another person down doesn't necessarily mean that you win or that you're right. You may win the debate, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're right. And so I don't think I could ever like run for public office or anything, because like I just feel like if I was put on the spot and like having to make comments, like if I had like prepared statements for things and I had time to think about them, I would do fine, I think. But like, yeah, just having to be off the cuff, I would just not be very good. And that's another reason why I don't know that I could be a very good teacher, because students would ask random questions in class. And I feel like if I wasn't prepared for the questions, I wouldn't know what to say. I did have a teacher in college that she was really good about like, if she didn't know the answer to the question, she would be like, I'm not sure, but I'll look it up for you. And the first thing in the next class, she'd be like, I looked this up and here's your answer. So I mean, that's a way to handle it, but at this point in my life, I'm not. I don't know if I'll ever be very good at communicating, and maybe that's something I could work on later. But, and I don't know. Maybe I'm more hard on myself than I think, because my roommates told me multiple times that like he's like, I know you feel like you're awkward, and he's like, but when I've seen you interact with people, to me, it hasn't come across as awkward. I don't think anybody like thinks that you're awkward when you talk to them, but I definitely feel like I am. And I've gotten to where I want to avoid social interactions, partially because I'm so self-critical of like the things that I say, that I I will just think about them and dwell on them and think about like, how could I have said this better? I could have said this and that. Why did I say this? And it's not as bad. Like, it used to be like way worse in like junior high. For sure. Like junior high was pretty bad, like really bad. Like I would be up at night just thinking about, and I said very little in junior high. I was very shy. And like the few conversations that I would have, interactions with people, getting called on in class, you know, things like that, I would just play back like over and over again. I would either play back things that had happened and be like, why did I say that? Or I would be trying to like play out scenarios of potential, maybe this is weird, but like potential conversations I would have with people like in the future, and like try to play out like, what would I say? But I would never, like, the few times that like the scenarios I had in my head would come up, I would never say like what I had been thinking about saying, because I would just like blank out at the time that it would happen. And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely think I need to work on my communication skills, but I don't think they're so bad that they're like inhibiting me too much. I mean, I put it this way. I think it's, my communication and social skills are something that I'm aware of, but they're not necessarily something that bother me too much. I know I talk about them a lot, but they don't necessarily bother me. It's just something that I'm aware of in myself, but I'm not like constantly bothered by it, I guess. Like, I'm fine with how I am right now. I do wish that I could be a little bit better at talking, but it's not something that I'm like really focused on or upset about that I'm not. So I get by in life well enough without being a very good communicator. So yeah. And something that's made me feel, it's like kind of a blessing and a curse, but when I was younger, I didn't mind being shy because people just knew me as the shy girl. And so people were more willing, I think it made them feel more comfortable to come up and talk to me. So when I was younger, I had a lot of people approach me to talk to me because I think my shyness made them feel more at ease to talk to me. But then I've noticed as I've gotten older, like, so it never held me back in terms of being social because there was enough people being social with me that I didn't have to go out and be social. But as I've gotten older, it seems like there are more shy people. And so on the one hand, I don't have as many people approaching me, and so I don't have as many social interactions. But then on the other hand, so many people are so shy that, or introverted, that I feel more comfortable talking to them because I'm like, well, they're introverted too, so we're both weird, so they're not gonna think I'm weird because they're shy too. But I guess the people that really what's the word, makes me not uncomfortable, and scared isn't the right word, like intimidates me, I guess, are the people who are very good at being social, and the ones who will just kind of come up and talk to me out of the blue and kind of throw me off guard. But yeah, otherwise it's not too bad. A lot of people are communicate over text and email a lot these days, so it's not really been that much of a hindrance on me recently. So yeah. Anyway, I will cut it off there. And that wraps up day 77. So tomorrow will be 78. And it looks like it has to do with judgment, being judgmental of others. So I will get to that one tomorrow.